All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming by. It's Chris Petri. We're having a fun time doing some flower compositions. Let's work together over the next hour, get in some good drawing and painting of flowers. It's springtime here in the United States where I work and paint. Perfect time. I'm out taking pictures of flowers, all the great things we can paint, compositions. Let's do it. You'll see here, these are going to be the three compositions we'll do. We'll work from our phone. We have our palette. We have our paintings here. We'll work from our phone. We have our photographs we're working from our electronic devices. You can use an iPad, an iPhone, a home computer, whatever you have. And then we'll do these three flowers compositions. Okay, we're going to have a great time together. Let's get our paper, our pencils, our brushes, and we'll get started in just a second. Okay, let's go. All right, so we just saw the finished painting, and we're going to get right into it here. I'm hoping you're going to take some photos when you're out and about, around your house, your place, your home, parks, local areas that you frequent. I like to take a lot of pictures with my phone. I have a cellular phone. Obviously, everyone pretty much has a cellular phone these days. You know, it's got the camera options. You can take tons of pictures wherever you go. So I took some pictures here of some wildflowers in my local area, and I just zoomed in on it and cropped it in a little bit. So we're going to work from this one here, particular photograph. And you have also other options too. I know a lot of artists work with their iPads. So you have these larger iPads. You can set them up across from your working table. You can take photographs with these iPads when you're out and about. So there's no reason why we can't get some really great subject matter to paint. And it's not just flowers. You can do anything. Buildings, historic sites, city scenes, streetscapes, still life, anything you can imagine. You take some pictures with your electronic devices and you're off and running. So that's what we're going to do here. We took some pictures here while I was out and about. We have that. We'll take our pencil. We'll do a quick pencil drawing of this beautiful yellow wildflower here. And let's just start out. Maybe we'll make a maybe we'll just make a rectangle around our, like that. We'll make a rectangle around our, this way we have our fixed space, just like we have the fixed like rectangle here around our subject matter. We create the same thing with some pencil lines here, just so we know we have a limited area of border that we're working with here around our subject matter. We want to kind of replicate the same idea. And then here we can just say, all right, let's start out. We'll do a preliminary sketch, and basically if you've been following me for quite a long time or for some time, you'll always know I like to do a preliminary sketch before I do my finished contour drawing. If it's your first time here, welcome. Thanks for stopping by and checking out our videos here on my channel. You'll have a wonderful time. There's all kinds of great things. You can look down in the description box below for all kinds of art supplies and other videos that I've created. And I have a book out. You can check out the book. I have a video of my new book. Well, it's been a couple years now. My book's been out. So you have lots of good stuff to check out if you're just starting out. But in any case, we're going to just basically have the idea of doing a very, very light sketch first. In this way, if we have to adjust something, we can take our kneaded eraser like this and erase a few things and correct a few things if we feel like we're going to need that. So that's always a good thing to remember. Better to go with a preliminary light sketch first and then go in with your darker drawing over top. So that's what we're going to do. This way, again, in case if we need to adjust anything or make a few corrections, it's a lot easier if you have light pencil lines, right? If you're drawing really dark pencil lines in the beginning, that's really hard to lift it up and kind of remove it, and it kind of gets to be a little bit difficult to do it that way. So let's do it this way. So I'll do the first thing as we look over here. I kind of see that my subject matter is about the top of the rectangle here, right up here. and it's a little bit over to the right. It's not centered. As you can see, this would be center, so it's a little bit to the right of center, like this. So I kind of already know that, and then I also see that it's about pretty much like about a quarter. So if we were to split this rectangle or square into quarters like this, just for instance, like if we were to make four cubes out of this rectangle here, so we divided here halfway and then divided here halfway, that'd give us 4 cubes. The flower's kind of over here in the right cube up here on the top, and that's a good design, incidentally. If you can have your main subject matter in one of the 4 quadrants here, that's kind of a good way to start out a good design of a painting and a drawing. So in any case, let's keep going here. So I'll kind of notice first there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 petals. And this petal here closest to us is sort of sticking out at us, so it's kind of protruding forward towards us. So we're not going to really see much of that petal of that part of the wildflower here. So let's just keep that in mind. But these other 1, 2, 3, and 4 petals, those are pretty much, we can see those clearly. So let's start out. Maybe we'll start out up here, or let's start out down here. Okay, so let's start here. We'll go with that first petal, which we just said that it's like that. Then this one here comes over here. I'm just doing a light sketch, and then this one comes up here. All right, that's my preliminary light sketch. Let me see if I can darken up my picture a little bit. Can we see that a little clearer? All right, since I did it super light, I'll go over it a little bit with a darker pencil line so you can kind of see what I did here. So let's pretend this is the preliminary sketch again, and that it's sort of a very, very, very super light sketch and line. But I'm doing it darker so that you can see it. Okay, and then this here like this. Alright, so I'm pretending this is a very light sketch here. And then I'm going to come down like this to the bottom. Like that. And then this flower over here comes down like this. Okay, that's it. We have the flowers here, flower petals. The stem of the flower here, and then we have another blossom here. It's like a bud here with the yellow. So that's pretty much it. Now what you can do is go over with a darker pencil line if you want. And again, I'm just pretending that that was a very light sketch that we just did. So then the next thing I would do is go over with a darker pencil line. And I would start here. And I would just do the same thing, kind of retrace my steps as I was going. And you can go and you can change a little bit if you want to. Once you're doing your final contour drawing, after you've done your preliminary light sketch, you can change, and you don't have to follow the exact light sketch that you created first. You can go over with the corrections that you might see, or you might say, oh, I see something a little differently, now I'm going to do that, and that's fine. And you can even do a little bit of erasing if you want to, but nothing too dramatic, because you sort of got it pretty good, right, with your preliminary sketch. And then that was it. Just like that. Okay, perfect. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll take a quick break. I will get my myself rested for about 5 minutes, and then we'll start painting, okay? You're going to have so much fun doing it this way, doing that first light sketch first, and then do your darker pencil line over the top of that first light sketch. This way you have everything kind of on the paper the way you want it. And then when you're doing your second contour drawing over the top of that preliminary sketch, it's almost like you have your basic blueprint of what you're going to do first with that light preliminary sketch, and then you're going over top with just a darker pencil line. So that you can also work and paint from your preliminary sketch if you're happy with it and you don't think you want to go over a second time with a darker pencil line. That's fine too, up to you. And you can also, too, if you go over with a darker pencil line on your second contour drawing, you can always take a little bit of a kneaded eraser and just erase a few dark lines if you want to from your pencil drawing. Okay, that's about it though. And we won't worry about anything in the background. We're not going to worry about any of those other stems and branches and things like that. We're just going to leave it, the yellow flower and some of this, you know, the stems in this other bud here that's below here. And we'll just do that. We won't, again, we're not going to try to paint in all these background ideas that we're seeing there. Okay, so that's where you have artist liberty. If you're looking at your composition, you're looking at your photograph, you're the one that's in charge of your design of your painting at all times. You always have to remember that. As an artist, you make the calls, you make the judgments, you look at things, you say, you know what, if I'm going to try to paint all those like gray colors in the background and all those light looking, see how those all, it's kind of like dark back there, let's avoid that whole situation. And that's where, again, I'm taking artist liberty and saying I just want to paint the flower itself and just have white paper, the yellow flower and the green stems, and a little bit of the, you know, of course over here the bud over here with the other flower budding. So that's it. Again, I'm not gonna, again, I'm gonna make it for myself. When I look at this composition and I look at this photograph, I will paint it and draw it and paint it to suit myself and to actually create it the way I think it's going to look best. And that's what you have to do too. As an artist, you have to say, what is going to look the best? What am I going to like? Maybe you're going to enjoy painting the background like this. That might be something you might like to enjoy. You might enjoy doing that. That's fine too. I'm not going to say I'm the final authority on what your painting should look like. You're the artist. You'll make your decision on what you want to do. You could paint in those darker grayish colors in the background and sort of try to make that work. But to me, it's just much more my style, just to paint the flower and the stems and sort of leave it at that. So we'll see how it looks when we're done, and we'll make that kind of judgment when we're finishing up on the painting here to see what we think, if it did come out looking good the way we wanted it to. Okay? All right, so we'll be right back. All right, let's get started. Let's have some fun. This is kind of a lemony yellow. Cadmium yellow, lemon. Okay. A little bit of blue here and some cobalt blue. So we'll have a little bit of a lighter, or I should say a darker blue there. Sap green. With a little bit of the cadmium yellow, cadmium yellow lemon. I think we're in good shape. Let's go with that. We'll start out with the flowers, petals. I spin my brush around like this and I rest my hand on the paper. And you can leave a couple areas maybe on the white paper for highlights, so I wouldn't paint the whole petal in. I'd leave some white paper there, maybe for a highlight or two. And you're going to see this is going to go quick. This is kind of a fun composition to do. We're not trying to... I will do a little bit of shadowing like this too as well as I'm working. Maybe even a little bit of raw umber here. I'm using fresh clean water. So my water container, I have fresh clean water. I usually have a tissue on hand. You can use a sponge or a tissue to dry off a little bit of water so you don't have too much water flooding onto your paper as you paint. So we're going to have some more straight paint. Mostly straight paint though. I'm not using too much water. Like that. Maybe a little bit of cadmium yellow too, which is more of an orangey yellow. So don't be afraid. You know, we can add some variety of colors, even though it's pretty similar, right? We have cadmium lemon yellow and then cadmium yellow. Obviously, this is the cooler yellow. It's more toward like blue. It's got a little touch of more of coolness to it, the lemony yellow, and then you have more of a like toward the red, which is the cadmium yellow, which is kind of orangey yellow. So, you know, you can see we can add different varieties of colors. Some of that blue in here for like the shadowy colors here in the center of the flower. Like that. Get some variety going, you'll be happy. And then again, I'll leave a little bit of white paper too for some highlights. You can see that I'm leaving that white paper there. And the same thing over here. Maybe I'll add some more. Maybe I'll put some of that cadmium yellow there, that orangey yellow here. And then the cadmium lemon yellow here. And as I look at this, I do notice there is those bits of darker yellow, which is that kind of raw umber too, as well, under here. Like that. You can infuse a little bit of yellow in that raw umber just to kind of, in the hopes that it's going to blend in a little bit better and not look like it's out of place. That looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit of some green and blue. A couple of splashes, right? And we are looking good. All right, so let's keep working here. Let's get some of the green here. Like that. Maybe a little bit of blue under here. Just, you know, a little bit of a shadowy blue there underneath. And then you can take some of that green and just slowly take your brush and just slowly, I would keep my hand on the paper like this on your working board or your sketchbook or however you're working. I'm hoping you'll have a board set up where you can tape your paper down to your board. I use construction paper here on my working board, but I have a masonite board underneath my table here. But I put construction paper on it so it looks a little bit better when we're doing our videos here for you. But you will take your hand and rest your hand on the paper, rest it on the paper, put your brush down onto the paper, and then slide your hand on the board. So your board should be a lot larger. So if you can imagine right now, I'm working on my board. My board goes down another like 8 inches, like this much further down here. So I have another like 8 or 10 inches of board, so that when I'm sliding my hand down this way to do this straight line of the stem of the flower, I'm just sliding my hand on the board and on the construction paper, just right down like this. And that's a great way to get a good straight line. The same thing, you can go up like this, sliding your hand, resting on the paper. You just obviously have to be careful not to slide your hand into any of your damp paint that you're painting, but I think you'll have the feel for that quite easily once you just kind of get the feel for that a little bit. And then we'll do more of the stem over here for this. Okay, like that. I'll dry off a little bit of water on the brush. Maybe a little bit of cerulean blue here. And then I noticed this is a little more orangey yellow, so let's go with the cadmium yellow. And might as well go right with the shape of the brush. The shape of the brush actually matches the shape of this flower bud here, like this. So I'll just take my brush, rest my hand on the paper like this, and then just press down and get that paint on there like that, and that is it. Simple enough. And we have a few more green bits of buds here that are just starting out, so they're kind of smaller. And we'll just do this, a few more. Few more splashes. And there we have it. Our first flower composition. Again, pretty simple, right? Nothing too complex. We have accomplished it by just really going in and doing the basic fundamentals of the composition, getting the yellow petals in, and then the stem of the flower, and this bud over here. I wouldn't worry too much about any more detail than we already have. You could always add a little bit of a little more of some blue, maybe, just to add a little more shadow to things over here, like that. We're adding a little more blue than we see here. But again, that's something that we wanted to add in, just maybe to add a little more excitement of colors here. Maybe there's some more cerulean blue here that we'll add in some here. Like that. But that's about it. I think we have a good composition here. Let's start with another flower painting in a second or two. We'll take a quick break and we'll come right back. All right, let's keep moving along here. So we're going to start another flower composition here. Let's remove this here. We'll get another sheet of paper. And I'll just get a little bit of artist tape. So usually I'll just tape down my paper so my paper doesn't move around. It's always good to have a very, very stable paper so that when you're working on your paper it's not shifting around at all. So whenever you're drawing and painting, you always want to have your watercolor paper or your drawing paper really, really solid, affixed to something so that it does not move whatsoever at all. So your drawing paper always has to be absolutely still and stable, like that, so that nothing moves like this. You can see it doesn't move around at all. Let's go to the next. Look at that. Wow, beautiful. We'll do this beautiful red flower here, wildflower, and maybe I think we'll just kind of leave it at that. We'll do the red flower here with the stems, and I don't think we're going to do anything else. We're just going to focus in on that. You can see there's other flowers here in the background and so forth, but let's focus in on just this one. So we'll do the same thing we did on the first. We'll make a simple, rectangle or square. This is kind of a square, like this, around to give ourselves a fixed space that we're working within. And then we're going to say that this flower here looks to be, if we're looking at it as a composition, it's pretty much, I would say, if anything, we could even crop this down because of the fantastic properties of our phones and the software that's on our phones. We can actually adjust things. Let's do that. There we go. So I'll just crop that in like that. Better yet. Okay. So now I'm cropping in my photo of my flower here, making it more larger within the space like this. So now we have our square space like this, and this is pretty much a little bit higher than the center. So if this was the center vertically like this, you can see it's about resting on the center point. So if I go here and say this is my center point, I could draw a very faint line across that only you and I can see at home, but we're not going to make it too dark. That'll be where our flower will rest upon, and that's all we have to do. And then now we see that our flower here is resting upon the center point of the picture plane, and then it's about centered, but it's a little bit to the right of center. So if this is the center, you can kind of see that the flower is maybe a little touch to the right of the center, so not quite slap dap in the middle of the composition. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to take the bottom here, and again I'll do a light preliminary sketch like this, and we're going to go up like this. And again, remember, this is a light sketch. I'm just making some of those little dots for those little small shapes there. Then we have the other shape of this petal over here coming down like this. This one goes up like this, and comes down like this. This one comes up like this, comes down like that. This one comes up here like so, like this, and comes down like this. Okay, and then this here goes like this. So I'm just kind of doing a very light preliminary sketch first, and then there's some small bits of stems and things like that. Small flower there, budding a little bit there. Okay, now what I'll do is, we have our preliminary sketch done. Now I'll go over with a little bit of a darker pencil line, just so you can see it here at home. I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to make that darker bottom portion of the flower here, and I'll come up like this. I'll come down here like so. I'm just actually tracing back the same, doing a contour drawing, which is I'm just starting in one place here at the bottom of the flower and then going around the flower shapes that we're seeing here. And I'm not lifting up my pencil at all. I'm just basically leaving my pencil on the paper at all times, stopping if I need to kind of take a look and say, okay, where am I going next? All right, I'm going to go over here on this petal next. I come up, and then maybe I got to stop a second and look at the shape at the top of the flower and say, okay, I got to take my time a little bit here, and maybe like this, take my time, and all right, and I can see it comes down like that. All right, no problem. Then I'm over here, and then I come up this way, and I'm looking carefully at the flower petals very carefully, and I'm just taking my pencil and almost tracing with my mind and my eyesight what I'm seeing here. And then I come back down this way, and I see it goes there. And then I see we have a stem. So now I take the stem shape like this, and I come down like this. I come back up here, I come down with the other side of the stem shape there. And then there's a few other bits of hair-like stems over here. And then there's another bud of another flower over here starting like that. And that is it. All right, we have done it. Preliminary sketch first, contour drawing on top of your preliminary sketch. And the time to make corrections is obviously when you do that first preliminary sketch, that lighter sketch. And then when you're done doing your darker contour drawing like we just did, you can always lift up a few pencil lines if you want to, by just taking your kneaded eraser and kind of, you know, maybe erasing a few little darker lines if you want to here and there. But I think that's fine. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll start painting in just a second. And again, I'm hoping you'll subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed before, and if you're kind of new here, you maybe have only seen 1 or 2 videos or something like that, or you're just starting out, hit that subscribe button down below on the right-hand side, and make sure you're, you know, kind of sticking with us here, close to us, working with us every week. We're working week after week, month after month, and year after year, guaranteed. So if you want to learn watercolor painting, you're just going to subscribe to my channel here, and then just work along with us every week. Once a week, you get together, you get your art supplies together, your brushes, your paper, your pencils, your paints, and you just work along with us. And it doesn't matter if you're just starting out. You can use the fancier paints like this, the tube paints. We also use the extreme beginners. I have extreme beginner videos. You can always check out those. If you're just starting out for the first time in watercolor, I suggest you just type in my name, Chris Petri, Chris Petri, and then type in the 2 words extreme beginners. And then you'll see that I have at least 125 to 150 other videos that we've done in the past that you can just easily watch and look at a few of them here and there. And you'll see that we use a more simplified palette, which is like this. And it's got, you know, you could purchase a palette like this to start out with, so you don't have to worry about all the tube paints and squeezing out paint and fancy palette. You could just start out with a real nice, simple palette, maybe $10 with the brush included. Get some paper, and you're ready to go. All right, so always remember that, extreme beginners. You just remember those 2 words, extreme beginners, if you're just starting out here on my channel. Again, I don't want to, you know, tell you, oh, if you're just starting out, you need to invest, like, you know, hundreds of dollars in art supplies. And again, all my art supplies are down below. My extreme beginners art supplies are down below, as well as the fancier, you know, tube paints you can squeeze out if you want to. It's totally up to you when you're starting out, but when you're starting out, this is basically all you have to do. You open this up when you're going to paint. You take a spritzer bottle and you spritz your paints, and you're ready to paint. And then when you're done, you just flip the thing closed, the palette, put it to the side. And when your next time is, when you're ready, when you're going to paint the next week or whatever, you just open it up again, you spritz your paints, and you're ready to paint. All the paints will be nice and moist with just 1 or 2 spritzes. And that's it. So again, this is a great way to paint if you're just starting out and you're not sure if you're going to be going, you know, 100% with watercolors. Maybe you're going to do acrylics or oils or sculpture or something else. You know, you're the artist. You're going to figure out what you want to do. But again, this is a great way. The Prang Oval 16 watercolor set. If you're just starting out, that's all you need to get going. And you can work with any of the videos that I create on YouTube. So, you know what I mean? You don't have to worry. If you see me using this palette with the tube paints, you could still use this palette, the Prang Oval 16 palette. It's got the same colors as this. So you can just use this and paint along. All right. All right, let's come back in just a second or two, friends, and we'll pick up where we left off, okay? All right. All right, so we're picking back up again, and let's see. I always say, let's take a paper towel, dip it in some water, and let's just start out with a clean palette. So I'll just lift up the paints that I was using before. Quickly, I don't have to make a big deal of it, just quick clean up fast, done. Then, the next thing I would do is look at the colors we're going to have here and say, what are we going to use? Obviously beautiful red, alizarin crimson. This is a beautiful rose madder. Rose madder is a little bit, if you can see these two colors here, there is a slight difference. Rose madder is a little more transparent and a little more, I would say, toward the blue. So it's got maybe a touch more of a coolness to it than the alizarin crimson. The alizarin crimson is a little bit warmer. It's more going towards the red colors, like burnt sienna. If you can imagine, it's a little bit warmer. It's got more of like some burnt sienna starting to, like that. And then the rose madder is sort of getting towards some purpley kind of look to it, like that. So you can kind of see how different colors sort of have a leaning towards either warmer or cooler hues to them. So just a little quick note as we start. Beautiful reds. Here we can use some cadmium red too. Cadmium red is always a beautiful red, and that's more of a warmer red too. That's going towards like orange and yellow. But now we have plenty of reds to work with, right? Let's work with these. And let's start out right here and just I'll make some of these dots here. Just have that feeling of the center of the flower there. I rinse off my brush. I might add some, see how my water's getting kind of murky looking with some of that yellow that we were using on the previous flower. Let's just empty that out. Let's start with fresh, clean water. Whenever you can, just empty out your bucket, your water container, and just put some fresh, clean water in there. What I do is I actually have, I'll just show you here what I have. I mean, this is a large bucket I have here, like this. A large bucket. I leave this over on our art table. It depends how much room you have. If you have the room, please do it. And then this way, when I'm emptying out my smaller water container, I just take this water container, dump it in there, in the larger bucket, and then I'm ready to fill this up with more fresh, clean water. So if you can imagine, I'm always just emptying my water container so that I have fresh, clean water all the time, and I'm emptying it into a larger bucket, and then maybe once a week or probably about once a week, I'll take this larger bucket and just go to the slop sink down in the basement and dump it out, rinse it out, clean it out a little bit, put a little bit of, Clorox bleach in there a little bit, and then just bring it back up. And this way everything is nice and clean and organized, and you can have your process of how you work, your workflow process with your art. It's a little bit easier to sort of do it that way, where so you wouldn't want to have to walk down to the basement every time. Like, I mean, just from my from my point of view, if I wanted to empty this small water container, I wouldn't want to go all the way down to the basement every time I need fresh water, right? So that's why I do the 2-bucket kind of thing. I just, I mention these things. I don't know. You're smart, everyone that I'm working with here. I'm sure you're all very bright and intelligent. I don't know why I mention these things, but I do anyway. Maybe someone that's just starting out doesn't know what I'm talking about. So I have to plan on explaining everything as best I can. And you can see here, we're having a fun time. Look at this. Let's get our colors in. You can load up and get some beautiful straight tube paint like this. Like that. And kind of press that onto the paper, where you rinse off your brush with the water, dry off a little bit of water off your brush on a paper towel or tissue or sponge. And you can come over here and get some more. Like this. And look at how good that looks. And I'm not worried too much. I'm using all of my colors here. I'll rinse off my brush, dry off some of the water, but leave a little bit of water in here, damp brush. And then I can just sort of maybe make it lighter over here. So you can lighten up your petals of your flowers like so. And again, you can mix your colors. We have a lot of warm, let's have a little bit of cerulean blue here. Cobalt blue. So I wouldn't want to just go with everything 100% red. Purple. Let's add some purple here, where it's sort of okay. And then here, under here, this is kind of a purplish green. Purplish green under here, like that. Voila! Look how good that looks. Now we'll take some cadmium yellow and we'll put some dots of cadmium yellow in there. And then you see there's some darker bits there. So we'll take those darker green and blue and purple. Just like that. And then I'll take a little bit of that yellow, again, cadmium yellow, and I might even splash a little bit in there like this. Yeah, that looks perfect. So don't be afraid to do some splashing with your paints. And then even too, I'll take some blue and green, a couple of splashes here and there, and then a little bit of red too. So I'll do some splashes with red and blue. If you have created too many splashes and you think, oh my gosh, I ruined my painting, don't worry about it. Grab a tissue and you can just actually tap on your paper and you can lift up some of your spattering or your splashes so that they're not as visible. And then you can go back in again and do a few more if you want to. See how it looks. Okay, looks good. And then we're going to go in with some green. We're almost like to the point where we really have a good looking composition here. Let's do this. Let's do our stem, our green stem here like this. We're going to have a few little small bits of like this. Better to just do a little quick like this. That looks better than taking too much time with it. Then we come over here, alizarin crimson, maybe a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of green in there maybe. Touch of cobalt blue, like that. Perfect. It's kind of got that reddish. It kind of matches the bottom of this part of the flower here. And if you have to go back in and add some more red and burnt sienna, let's say, and a little bit of blue to get that darker bit back there, that's fine. Like that. There's a little bit of yellow in there on the top here, like that. But that is about it. You are really in great shape now. You have your beautiful red flower petals. We used our alizarin crimson, our rose madder. We used some cadmium red. You get a wonderful mixture of reds here in this flower. Yeah, maybe it's a little different than this. And again, if you're, as an artist, you'll always think to yourself, how can I make things look more exciting? How can I make things like more than what I'm seeing, better, more exciting, more interesting looking? That's all you have to really think about when you're painting. As an artist, you want to try to go beyond what you're kind of seeing. I could have just said, you know what? All these red colors here, these hues, these beautiful, pink, reddish hues, they're all very similar. And I could have painted it that way. But no, I said, let me make it even more exciting, more interesting looking. And that's why we went in with the different reds, the alizarin crimson, the rose madder. And you can see these are different. That's the rose madder. This is the alizarin crimson, a little bit darker of a red, which is more toward the, again, the toward the warmer color. And then the rose madder is a little more toward purple, a tiny bit. And then the cadmium red, that's more toward the yellow, orangey kind of feel. So we were able to get all those beautiful colors into this. And this flower, this flower composition, the flower petals. And again, once you sort of think as to yourself, how can I make something look a little more interesting, a little more exciting, and go beyond just what I'm seeing in a photograph, or if you're painting outdoors, whatever it is, whatever subject matter you're painting from. If you're painting from another person's paintings, if you're painting from my paintings in my books, feel free. Add different colors. Do something different. Make it more exciting looking. You're the artist. Always remember that. Try to make things more exciting, more interesting than what you're just seeing, and that'll automatically boost your creativity and your artwork to another level. It'll look better because you're going beyond what you're just seeing. I could have just painted these all the same pinkish kind of red color, but you see how I did a variation of the colors going through this. All right, let's do one more. Why not? Let's do another flower painting, another flower composition in just a second. So we'll get geared up to do another one. We'll get some more fresh paper. We'll start with another paper, and we're going to have another photograph ready to go. All right, great to work with you, my friends, and let's keep going. One more. We'll do one more painting, and then we'll be all set. All right, let's get started with one more flower. And again, I was out recently, out by my home where I live, and I saw some flowers, and I saw this in a tree, by a tree. So we'll try this one next. Okay, we'll put our paper down here. And again, I always tape down my paper. Just so it doesn't move around the paper. Okay, I'll make another square here. Like that. And then we'll contour draw this. But first we'll do a preliminary sketch. So I'm going to look at this and say, well, this looks like this. I took a larger picture and then I shrunk it down. So if you can imagine, I cropped my photograph down to just capture this one flower here in the tree here. So let's say that this is pretty much close to the bottom of the picture frame, and this is like a branch coming out like so. So I'm going to put that branch there like this, just like that, and there we go. So I'm just going to do a silhouette of the kind of like the outer perimeter of the flower here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, that's my preliminary sketch where I sort of get it onto the paper lightly. Then I come back in and say, all right, let me do my contour drawing. And then that's just going to be where I go over with my darker line. And I don't really lift my pencil at all. I sort of keep my pencil on the paper at all times. I might get a little more nuance of details here as I go. And that is it. All right, perfect. Now we're going to notice that the light is coming from this side of the painting this way. Or we could actually, I think that actually, yeah, the light's actually coming from this direction, actually. I can see it here now. So the light's actually coming from this way. So let's make a little light insignia up here. A spotlight, like this. Like that. And then we are in great shape to get ready to start painting. And again, I won't create all these other twigs and stems and things. You could do that if you wanted to. But I think I'm just going to leave this very simple. These branches coming out here from the left up here that are supporting the flower. And that should be good for me. I'm kind of thinking I just want to really focus in on this beautiful pinkish purple flower. Let's do this. Let's take one quick break for a second. Let's clean up the palette just a quick second. So we'll have our palette ready to go. So I just take a paper towel with a little bit of water on it. I just dip my paper towel in a little bit of water just to start out with. We want to start out with a clean palette. And this way we can mix our next color mixes with not too much other colors affecting it. And that should be fine. Okay, so we're going to be right back and start painting. All right, so the only thing I think different right now I'm going to mention is I'm using a little bit of a larger brush now because this is a little bit of a larger flower shape that we're creating here. So I'll just, this, I think the original brush here I was using was a number 6 Charles Reed travel brush, and now I'm going to go up to a number 10 or 12 Da Vinci Maestro brush, and I think that'll be fine. A little bit extra bit of larger brush will really help us here. So let's get some colors mixed here. Alizarin Crimson, let's put that over here. And again, the idea is let's mix some colors ahead of time as we go. So we'll get all our colors mixed in, and then some purple over here. So we have some purple here, and this is Ultramarine Violet by Winsor Newton. That's my favorite purple. And then I will also add a little bit of raw umber here for a little bit of a warmer kind of feel. And there's going to be a little bit of yellow underneath here on the bottom with some green. So I'll make some green. But that's basically, this is our color scheme, our color mixtures. Alizarin Crimson here, Rose Madder here, Ultramarine Violet here. So I'm just kind of sectioning it, putting it in sections of my palette. If you had a palette that maybe didn't have divisions in it, like this, you could just put it in separate areas. And then some raw umber here in the bottom, like this, just for a little bit of warmth here and there. I can see some warm kind of raw umber and maybe even some yellow ochre, like that, here and there in some of the areas of the flower. And then some of that green, yellow, cadmium lemon yellow, and then a little bit of green mixed in there, some sap green. And that should be fine. That will give us our colors that we need for this. And then we'll just go right in and start over here. So over here it's kind of darker down in the bottom area here, so you can even go straight in with your paint. So once you start, you can kind of grab some straight paint and not even worry about it. Like that. So your most exciting and rich and highly dynamic colors are going to be here at the bottom of your flower here. And then as we go higher up, we're going to see more light effects. So that's where we rinse off the brush. Now we're going to start to do a little bit of lighter. I would rinse off the brush, take a little bit of water off on a tissue or paper towel, and then we're just going to go with lighter. More water, less paint. You can see how we use really straight paint right out of the palette down here. Now up here we're using more water, like this. Let's leave some white paper as we go. On this side over here, you can see there's some really bright lights over here. So I'll leave this area white right there, like that. Then there's some of that, kind of that warmer color there. I see some more of that warmer color there too here. Rinse off my brush, dry off a little bit of the water, then I can damp brush here, like that. Okay, and then there's some more. Purple. That looks good. A little bit of splashing would be perfect right now. Here and there, just like that. You can see this is very light over here. A little bit of a shadow there, I see, right along here. And I think that's about good. I would not go too much more. The best thing we can do now is really let's let this dry. We don't want to go in and start adding more paints or anything like that, especially down here. There's a lot of, you can imagine there's a lot of wet paint here. Can you kind of see that? Some of the paint has pooled up, and down in this section here, some wet watercolor washes has pooled up and made like a puddle along the bottom of it. And that's not a problem at all. We can just leave that as it is and let it dry. You could use a blow dryer at this point if you wanted to speed the drying process if you want to, or you could let this dry naturally for a couple hours. I will actually let this, I will use a blow dryer actually and dry this now quickly so we can keep working. Like that. And then we'll do some of the branches underneath here. And I think that'll be it. It'll be a completed painting. And again, I didn't want to do too many branches and things that we see up here in the photograph. I wanted to kind of keep it simple, maybe a few branches over here. Maybe I will make a few more branches over here, but just really loosely and quickly as we're finishing up. Okay. All right, so let's take a quick break, and then we'll come right back and finish up. All right, so I'm going to go back to maybe a smaller brush a little bit here. A little bit of blue, French ultramarine blue, raw umber, and some green, and a little bit of red too, and purple. And we'll just do a little bit of we'll create these stems under here. And maybe we'll just do a few more like this. So I'm just going to do a couple like that. Okay, then we're going to take some of that green that we mixed in yellow. And we're just going to put that under here like this. We're seeing that under here. Okay. That is it. So you can see just the last few little bits of touches of details to your flower painting here, and you're all set. I wouldn't go with too many of these branches and things like that. If you just can put in a few quick indications of those, you're going to be fine. I'm happy with the shadows and the light within this flower here on this tree. I think that looks fine. I infused maybe a little more of the cadmium lemon yellow here underneath, which kind of looks nice too. It's kind of a little bit of a pop of color there, that little bit of yellow underneath the flower, the pink and purples. Looks really nice. And again, I did a little bit of splashing with some of the yellow and green. So I think overall we have a really nice composition. And you can imagine if we put a frame around this, it would look absolutely fantastic. A flower study, springtime. I'm hoping you enjoyed this video. We're going to do lots more like this. Again, I do a lot of flower painting on my channel here, so if you like flowers, stick close to my channel here, because we're going to do a lot more flowers, obviously, in the future. We always do. And we work a lot of other things, too, into our compositions and our work here in our paintings. So we'll do flowers, obviously. We'll do some figure painting once in a while. We'll always be creating beach scenes, ocean, landscapes, street scenes. We'll do trees. We'll do studies where we'll do some kind of like studies on things like, we'll do like maybe 3 or 4 different style trees, and maybe from different artists, and things like this. So we always do bits of studies here and there, and then as well as we do paintings and compositions. So we're always working in watercolor. We're having a great time here. Thanks. I'm happy to be working with you. I'm glad you're coming by and watching the videos here with me and working with me. We're having a fun time here. I'm happy you're here, and we're going to see you on the next video before you know it. Okay, so we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.